What is going on, Misfit Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Misfit Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Matt the Misfit. This is your AEW Dynamite review for March the 13th, 2024. Big business took place tonight on TBS. I had to watch it some other way because TBS was being weird for me tonight. I don't know why. It just was. However, a lot of things took place on the show, including the AEW debut. Well, technically, the official AEW debut of Mercedes Moné. We can fairly into discussions of where this woman is going to land. I can stop hearing about where she's going to be. She's going to be here. She's going to be there. It's over. Finally, I can move on from it now. We can move on from it. Probably not the AEW stands. Not the AEW stands. The WWE Sasha stands are probably not going to move on from it. But we're going to talk about that much, much more, including the AEW title match between Samoa Joe defending against Wardlow. Switchblade Jay White beating the ever-living shit out of Darby Allin before Darby Allin heads off to the Mount Everest thing and all that stuff there. Also, we've seen the main event of Willow Nightingale taking on Riho. And I believe we also had a 6-man tag match of the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada taking on the returning Pac, Pentagon, if you want to call it, Penta Jr., whatever you want to call him, and the AEW Continental Classic champion, Eddie Kingston, and much, much more. Please hit that like button. Comment down below. Hit that subscribe button. YouTube.com/@MisfitWrestlingPodcast. You can follow the social medias. Pile Driver Pulse on Twitter. Misfit Wrestling Pod on Instagram. I don't know what it is on Threads. You can look that up on there. If you want to follow the Facebook, I don't use Facebook, but it's there. Misfit Wrestling Podcast. All you're going to do is put it down there in the not in the description, just go to Facebook. Just look that up there. You can also follow the other audio outlets, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pandora, where you can listen to the Sunday show of the Pile Driver Pulse. Some news we want to talk about first before we get into the AEW aspect of stuff here. Some unfortunate news took place while I was getting ready to record this episode of the Pile Driver, or not the Pile Driver Pulse, of AEW Dynamite. The son, or one of the sons of Jim Crockett, brother of David Crockett, who was a cameraman, was the lead cameraman for Crockett Promotions back in the 80s. Unfortunately passed away. I don't know what the age is that he passed away of, but PW Insider did break the news alongside former WCW, longtime WCW ring announcer and former TNA ring announcer David Pinzer saying, and I quote, "It's been a long journey for Jackie, and he went out his way tonight. Jackie's breathing was labored, and when we thought he was gone, he would come back like a wrestling false finish." I believe David Pinzer, if I can look up David Pinzer's official tweet. I don't think that's what he said, but here's what David Pinzer had to say. He said, "R.I.P. Jackie Crockett. He was the Crockett bad boy and the life of a party. We had a lot of fun together, and I will always remember those times. Always. Sorry to hear. So sorry to the family." So my thoughts and prayers go out to the Crockett family, David Crockett, and the rest of the Crockett family. So that's what I have to say about that. Mercedes Moné. Well, actually, before I get that, we have Stardom news to talk about because Mina Shirakawa was at the AEW tapings tonight as the president of Bushiroad, the owner. Both New Japan Pro Wrestling and World Wonder Ring Stardom. That being Okada, I believe his name is Taro Okada, was there. If I can find what was said here, give me a second. Let me see what I can find here. The tweet, as Tony Khan posted an image about this information here. Let me see if I can find it. It says Tony Khan tweeted out that it's an honor to have that's not a Toro. Is it Toro? Taro Okada, the president of Stardom and New Japan Pro Wrestling, also the president of, or not the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the owner of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom, and the president of Bushiroad, with us here at the TD Garden in Boston for this evening's AEW Dynamite episode. It says we're officially in business tonight with Stardom, I guess. And I believe it was Okada here, put out the tweet thing. The following says, after this, AEW Big Business will be held in Boston at the venue where I greeted Mr. Tony Khan, the president of AEW. I believe there was another thing, something about building relationships. So that's what they're doing there. So we'll see what happens there. Mina Shirakawa actually competed on the Ring of Honor TV tapings. She defeated Anna Jay. If you didn't want to know the spoilers on that, there you go. I'm worried still because being on Ring of Honor in 2024 means nothing at all anymore. As excited as I am for an Athena Hikaru Shida Ring of Honor Women's Championship match at Supercard of Honor, which is the plan, that's going to be a phenomenal match. I'm not that thrilled because last time they did this the first time with Utami. They brought in Utami, who was on her small excursion for Stardom when she came over to do the two shows for JCW, where I believe she took on, who did she took? I know one of the matches was Billy Stark. Let me see if I can find the other match here that she had. Here. Let's see if I can find it here. GCW. She wrestled so she wrestled Billy Stark for GCW, which was a great match, by the way, and then she wrestled Lufisto for JCW. So yeah, so another great match there. And then she came over. She was there for she trained with Shayna Baszler at Shayna's school. No, it wasn't. Was it? At Shayna's school. She trained with Shayna. It might have been at her school, and she also trained with Natty and Io Shirai. They had their little reunion there. I don't think Utami was there when Io was there. So it was basically the meeting of Queen's Quest leaders. And then she went over to Toronto. No, it wasn't Toronto. It was Calgary. And they had their show, their AEW Collision show. But she wrestled on the ROH taping against, I believe it was Trish Adora. She wrestled a Ring of Honor match. And that was it. They never brought her back. So I don't hold a very much weight to this. I want to see how AEW uses Mercedes first before I even flick or blink, if you want to call it that, to see how Stardom is used, if they want to do something with AEW. I know for a fact that Julia will not be heading to AEW, so people still under the impression that Julia is going to head to AEW. I have some bad news for you. It's not happening. Money doesn't always solve anything, because that woman is super loyal to Rossy Ogawa. After the shit Tony Khan said about Rossy Ogawa, why would she want to go over to AEW? Also, she's already told Rossy Ogawa when she's done helping him out with his promotion, she is headed to WWE. Same thing that she told WWE, that once she's done helping out with Rossy Ogawa, because she promised Rossy that she was going to do that, she would come into WWE, and WWE is fine with that. Bull Nakano recently said that she should go to WWE. It's happening. That's what's happening there. So, and Julia's last match with Stardom is supposedly still set to be the finals of the Cinderella tournament, which is next week, by the way. But I do want to point that out as well. Stardom will not be able to appear on AEW television for Collision or Dynamite next week. Collision this week, because I believe, let me see if I can find it here. Let me see if I can find it here, because I do have that set up here. If I can, give me a second. Because I do know that we get the quarterfinals matches set for the 17th. This is a short tournament. So, or no, I got actually there's two matches this coming week. So you got the 16th and the 17th. So, which is round 2. So matches that haven't taken place here. So I believe Saturday will be the second round matches that haven't taken place yet, which is Mina versus Waka Tsukiyama, Raka versus Hazuki, Azumi versus Sakura Sayakaya, and Miyu Amazaki versus Mai Sakurai. And then the quarterfinals of the following week, or the very next day, which we know the two quarterfinal matches we know of right now is Hanan versus Starlight Kid and Mei Surai versus Ami Surai. And then the finals and semifinals take place on Wednesday, March the 20th. And on that show, the two big matches on that show is Micah defending the World of Stardom Championship, supposedly against Utami Aisa, who is coming back this weekend, and then supposedly Julia's final match with Stardom against Tam Nakano, her oldest rival. Because then the following week is her last week with the company. Because once midnight strikes on April the 1st, she is gone. She just dropped the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. If you haven't seen that review up of the first two nights of the Cinderella, that is up on the channel now. I will go over the rest of the round 2 and the quarterfinals on Sunday afternoon. Yeah, Sunday show. And then I will review. I'm gonna try to review the finals on that Wednesday next week, or not that Wednesday. That's not that. That's either it's either in the morning or I'll look into that. I'm not entirely sure. I'll figure that out when we get to that there. But yeah. Also, if you haven't seen the other review on the channel, which is the Monday Night Raw review from this past Monday, I'm going back to doing the weekly reviews, and I go into why why the match should still remain being Gunther versus Sami Zayn, and why that's not a bad idea as people think it is, and all that stuff. And I go into that huge rant and stuff like that anyway. But yeah, that's basically it of the news here, because the main topic, the main part of the news is going to be the AEW debut of Mercedes Moné, which is a big ass details here that came from Fightful Select. We're going to go in that in just a little bit here, because AEW Dynamite started off with Renee Paquette backstage talking through what's going to happen tonight. and then a car speeds into the arena behind her. The door opens, but nobody's shown. And I thought they're going to teach us. I thought they're going to save her for the end of the show. They CM Punk'd her is what they did. So you go back to the arena. The CEO thing flashes up on the screen. At first, you hear like the Walter music, basically, and then Mercedes Moné walks out to the ring. To a massive pop because it's there in Boston because that's what's going to happen, regardless. She's back in Boston. She comes to the ring. She tells Boston she's home. She admits her heart is beating out of her chest. Then thanks the fans for having her back for the past 2 years because remember this is the first outside of Stardom in New Japan. This is like the first televised appearance of Mercedes Moné since leaving WWE. So it's kind of a big deal for her. She says, she goes on to continue basically saying, having my back for the past 2 years and giving her the courage and strength to be here. She thanks them for sticking with her through her lows, her highs, titles, and moments. She says, they will be creating so much magic here together here. Moné says the fans are the reason she is here. That's not entirely true. You know the other reason here? Moolah. Not fabulous moolah. The other type of moolah. She says if people here only knew how much tonight and wrestling means to her, wrestling changed and saved her life, which is like the story you've heard for. This is kind of like the CM Punk promo. Basically, that's what this came across of, which isn't a bad thing. Now, unlike CM Punk promo, she didn't bury WWE in this promo, and I'll get to it much more when I get through the rest of the promo here. She says that it has given her hope and a place to dream, and legendary people like Eddie Guerrero gave her a place to where she can believe that she could basically do this professional wrestling. She says she says her dreams allow her to lead a revolution, become the first woman to main event a pay-per-view in this very building, which is true. She main evented taking not including the I think it was our revolution or our evolution or something, where her and Bayley had the Iron Woman match, the first main roster women's pay-per-view main event, which was her and Charlotte in that not so great Hell in a Cell match. I'm telling you right now, people try to tell you how great that match was. It's not that good. It's not that memorable either. I'm sorry. They've had better matches. They've had better matches in their feud. I love the match they had on that Raw, that first Raw post draft, where Sasha won, or Mercedes won the women's title. That was a great match, and then I think it was a Falls Count Anywhere match that they had on Raw. That was great. Their pay-per-view matches under-delivered, unfortunately, in my opinion. But their two Raw matches that they had were great. So that's just, I'm going to leave that there and talk about that for another time here. But Mercedes goes on to continue and says she watches every week. She can't wait to tear it up with everyone here in the locker room. She points out that she and Willow Nightingale have a lot of unfinished business. Because if you guys remember, Mercedes' last match that she had before the hiatus was in New Japan Pro Wrestling, where I believe it was Resurgence. Was it Resurgence? Hang on. I need to double check this because I don't want to like double down on this, right? Or not double down on this. Was it Resurgence? It was Resurgence. I was correct. Yes, where she wrestled twice. At first, she wrestled Stephanie Vaquera, who, funny enough, is now the current New Japan Strong Women's Champion. And then she lost to Willow Nightingale, but she wasn't supposed to because in that match, Mercedes unfortunately broke her ankle, and they had to change the finish of the match. And New Japan was not really keen on doing that stuff, but they did it. And so Willow Nightingale won the Women's Strong title. It was supposed to be Mercedes. And that's where all this stuff is setting up here. So, but, you know, we found out the other night that she didn't turn on our Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale didn't turn on Mercedes. So, it looks like they're going to set up a tag match first, which is smart. And I'll talk about that when we get to that here. So, she says that Mercedes Moné is all elite. She tells everyone to say hello to the new CEO. And basically, that was it. So, yeah, to me, this reminded me of the CM Punk promo. In a way, the AEW debut that CM Punk had at the first dance. This basically was the same, sort of the same thing. They teased it with not name drops, but like, you know, little hints here or there. So subtle that was basically right in your face. Not as much as the CM Punk ones were, you know, with Darby Allin, like immediately after they announced that first dance was going to be in Chicago at the United Center, where Darby Allin immediately says, you know, find out if you're the best in the world, and that was the most deadbeat giveaway that CM Punk was coming to AEW. The most deadbeat giveaway that Mercedes Moné was all was the spelling of Boston, which was spelled like boss with the dollar signs. And I'm like, well, obviously. But before we get on to the rest of this review, Fightful Select put out a big update on Mercedes Moné and her signing to AEW. Here is what Fightful Select has to say here. Go subscribe to the Fightful. It says, Mercedes Moné is officially all elite after her big debut at Big Business on March 13th. But she's been all elite for quite some time. Sources confirmed to Fightful and Matt Man's Andrew Zarian, who is a good friend of mine. I talk to him every now and then. He's a really good dude. So is Sean Rossap, who brought his receipts tonight, and I'd love to see it. Says that Moné has been on the AEW payroll for the past 2 months, since January. With some sources said that they believe the deal was effectively agreed upon back in December when Mercedes landed several trademarks in relation to her name. Those we have spoken to believe the contract is a multi-year deal, working to confirm that. In addition, we were told that New Japan Pro Wrestling expects to be factored into this deal, and says that they were under the impression as of January that they would be able to continue to work with Mercedes in a big way. Sources within the company said that they hoped they would pick up where they left off with her last year, but that AEW would be her priority. Hold on, let me see if I can scroll that down so I don't screw that up here. Mercedes suffered a severe injury last year, which was a broken ankle that sidelined her for 10 months. We're told that it required 2 surgeries, and even while she was negotiating with her other deals, it was made clear that she wasn't ready to be for an in-ring return. To highlight the timeline of events, Mercedes was brought in during AEW's All In pay-per-view event in the crowd to appear, and like I said, she was in the crowd, and AEW believed that there was no deal. While no deal was signed, there was an understanding the two sides would work together. At the time, The most didn't know exactly how severe Mercedes' ankle injury was, which we were told it was just as bad as she indicated during recent interviews. We were told at various points Tony Khan didn't want to simply have Mercedes come out of a walking boot or on crutches and set up fans for something they wouldn't be able to see for a while. When Fightful followed up in early December, we were told that Mercedes and AEW had no longer had a working plans, and the two sides were apart on terms. She re-entered discussions with WWE by that point, and also who also couldn't come to terms with her money thing on that end there. Fightful. There we go. Let me see. Fightful discovered internal language within WWE that a former WWE champion would be appearing on the Day 1 episode of Monday Night Raw, which we found out ended up being The Rock. When Fightful Sean Ross Sapp noted after the report of internal language that it could be anyone from Bob Backlund to Sasha Banks. WWE sources quickly shut down the latter. They confirmed in official capacity that WWE and Mercedes had conversations, but as of late December, those were no longer ongoing, and the two sides couldn't come to terms. WWE sources also called those conversations friendly and wished her luck, and said that they expect her to sign or appear elsewhere imminently. As it turns out, even though she wouldn't appear for months, she did sign elsewhere imminently if she hadn't already. At that point, Fightful had learned that AEW and Mercedes had re-entered talks, and they'd expect her to land her. Within the first week of January, there were already discussions about her debut, and some within the company even being told that both January 3rd and 10th were possibilities. However, Mercedes was not anywhere near physically cleared by that point. Those dates were passed on by January 4th, which was the day of Wrestle Kingdom. Fightful had learned that the company was planning to announce a show in Boston called Big Business, where Mercedes would debut without technically ever being announced, which happened the same way they did that with CM Punk. With that, Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast, go subscribe to the Mat Men podcast and do great work. Andrew Zarian learned of the date, which was March 13th. Andrew Zarian, who's very good at his job when it comes to sources too. So again, SRS and Andrew Zarian are two people I look to when it comes to viable AEW sources. Fightful continues to say, we were able to confirm as much as in the following weeks. In early January, reports emerged that New Japan Pro Wrestling had long planned or wanted to do Mercedes Moné versus Julia at New Japan's Battle in the Valley. Multiple frustrated sources within New Japan shot that notion down and clarified to Fightful that at no point since Mercedes' severe injury had it been indicated to them that she would be ready for Battle in the Valley, and it wasn't in the plans. They also noted that if she would have been good to go for Battle in the Valley, they would have likely booked her for Wrestle Kingdom as well, and she didn't want fans to think they were holding anything back from one another on either one of the shows. Throughout January, WWE sources. Hold on, I'm trying to scroll down here so I don't mess this up here. Throughout January, WWE sources were steadfast that they expected her to appear in AEW. They even made comments to Fightful during Royal Rumble weekend, or Royal Rumble week or weekend, however you want to take it. That not only did they hear she couldn't be cleared for a highly speculated Royal Rumble appearance, that they weren't interested in contract tampering her with her anyway. By that time, the Royal Rumble rolled around. By the time the Royal Rumble rolled around and she didn't show up there, Mercedes' impending AEW debut was a foregone conclusion to AEW wrestlers, staff, even beyond the reporting. Many gained word that a Boston TD Garden show was set for March and put two and two together. So that is your latest on Mercedes Moné and how her being all elite is now a thing. And they've already set up her first program in all elite wrestling. So there is that. Samoa Joe is backstage with Renee Paquette after Renee welcomes Mercedes to AEW. And Samoa Joe says it feels like a money night, but he says Wardlow has debts that need to be paid, and he doesn't lose titles in the Garden. So I believe he's never lost whatever titles he's had in the TD Garden. So the first match of the night was Samoa Joe defending the AEW World Championship against Wardlow. This match was actually a lot better than their last few matches that they had with each other. Obviously, Wardlow immediately attacks Samoa Joe as he enters the ring, taking the fight outside of the ring as he slams him repeatedly into the barricade and the LED board because they started using that now. At one point here, the two big men started trading blows until Wardlow busts out a drop kick, which a man for that size, doing drop kicks like that is scary as hell. Wardlow then follows it up with a body slam. Wardlow then continues to dominate while Joe tries his classic walk off to avoid the top rope from Wardlow. He doesn't jump and move. The move doesn't work for Joe as Wardlow leaps to take him out, which looks impressive as hell. Samoa Joe responded with a flurry, though with following up with a big boot and then a senton. Both men then exchange shots at each other, big shots at each other. Joe comes back with a power slam. Wardlow kicks out after a pinfall attempt. Joe then lifts up Wardlow, drops him down, pretends to tweak his knee. That allows him to lure Joe in for as he rakes the eyes. Wardlow sets up Joe on the top turnbuckle and drops him down to connect with the knee. Joe then kicks out of whatever Wardlow did. Wardlow then misses the top rope senton. Joe hammers down some punches in the corner and lifts. But Wardlow lifts Joe up, power bombs him. However, he goes for another one. Joe reverses into the coquino clutch, and Wardlow passes out, doesn't tap out, and Samoa Joe retains the AEW World Championship. I thought this match was a lot of fun, a lot better than their last few matches they had against each other, especially the one where Joe won the TBS Championship, or no, it was the TNT Championship. Excuse me. Off a Wardlow, but this was a lot better than what I saw the last time. After the match, Swerve Strickland, who I guess is a babyface now, makes his way down to the ring, fighting security to get his way into the ring here. Joe walks away there. So obviously the main event of Dynasty is going to be Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland. Hopefully that's where Swerve possibly wins the championship. I don't know. They might not put the title on Swerve. I don't know. Depending on who they got lined up, because it feels like they're going to do Adam Cole at some point. I don't know. We'll see there. Backstage, Kazuchika Okada, who signed with the AEW last week officially, he is asked why he joined the Elite. The Young Bucks then tag in and Matthew Jackson says the three best professional athletes in the world are elite. They've helped each other in the past, and he could give him 14 million other reasons why. Okada, whose English fucking surprised the shit out of me, says to Alex Marvez to say happy birthday to Matthew. He said, well, happy birthday, Matthew. And he said, no, sing it. And it was fucking hilarious. But the English on Okada surprised the ever living shit out of me. And it was, again, I didn't see that coming. But it happened. So, but that was funny as hell. Because then we got the Elite, which is again Matthew and Nicholas Jackson taking on, and Kazuchika Okada taking on Pac, Penta, El Zero, Miedo, and Eddie Kingston. So this match was a lot of fun as well. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. I'm just going to go into the bits and pieces I like to talk about here. Eddie Kingston, though, earlier on, I wanted to get his hands on, excuse me for yawning so much, wanted to get his hands on Okada. Okada's like, nope. But at one point, the Elite then nail 3 kicks to the head of Eddie Kingston as Nicholas Jackson then rakes the eyes of Eddie Kingston with his feet before tagging in his brother, Matthew. Then isolates Eddie Kingston in the quarter as Okada, and then tags in, does the same thing. Eddie Kingston begins to fight back, takes out Nicholas Jackson and Okada, but Matthew drags him back into the corner. Kingston catches him and hits a suplex onto Matthew Jackson across the ring. However, as he crawls to the corner to the corner, Okada and Nicholas pull down Pac and Penta. Despite that, Eddie Kingston throws Matthew with his belly-to-belly suplex. Penta tags in and hits his double crossbody to the Young Bucks. Both of them eat a pair of sling blades. Then he rolls Okada and jumps into a double DDTs to the tag team, I guess. Okada eats a thrust kick as Pac comes in with a shotgun drop kick. Then they dive to the outside of the ring, wipe out the Young Bucks, that being Pac and Penta. Okada tags in but eats a snap German suplex from Pac, and Kingston then unloads some chops onto Okada, but Okada responds with the DDT. Pac tries to help, but gets driven face first into the mat by Matthew Jackson, who was taken out with a Canadian Destroyer by Penta. But Nicholas then wipes out Penta until Eddie Kingston drops him all on the top rope. However, this distraction allows Nicholas to hit a low blow as the referee is distracted, and then Kingston gets hit with the Rainmaker. 1, 2, 3. The Elite get the win here. Fun little match here, sets up for next week, because we did find out that next week on AEW Dynamite from Toronto, we got the Dynamite from Toronto. We got Eddie Kingston defending the AEW Continental Championship against Kazuchika Okada, which tells me they're just going to have Eddie Kingston drop the title to Okada then, and then do Pac and Okada at Wrestle Dream. If that's the plan, sign me up. I just want to know a one-on-one match with Okada and fucking Pac. That's could be a lot of fucking fun. I'm excited for it. Next up, we'll hear from the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay, who has a big, huge dream match lined up for for Dynasty against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. That match is going to fucking hump, which I'm excited for that. Will Ospreay says he's turned up, and they asked what he wanted to do, and he said, Tony, send Tony Schiavone out here out there as he wants to talk to the people. Says this match means so much to him as he's always wanted his career to follow Bryan Danielson. As he always left it out into the ring, he says he's glad that Danielson is a fan of his work, and says that his match with Kenny Omega against Kenny Omega, everyone was talking about the Tiger Driver 91, the one at Forbidden Door last year, where he dropped him on his head, and people are like, "Oh my god!" That was the same show where Okada lost to Danielson with one arm and tapped him out in the main event. He was asked if it was worth it, and as the guy who had blood coming from his head said it was worth it. Okada. Ospreay says he respects Danielson, but this match means a lot to him and the people around the world, which is true. I'm very excited for the match myself. The moment he stepped foot in an AEW ring, stepped foot in AEW, a phrase has followed him, and that's restore the feeling. And he says the feeling. He says he is the feeling. Ospreay says this match is about reminding people what AEW is: the best wrestler in the world against the best of the 21st century. And only one walks out a winner. I must say Okada again. Ospreay says he's learned from Danielson that he can respect the man in the ring, but when the bell rings, it's your life or his, and he doesn't plan on dying. Ospreay says that this is about finding out who the best in the world is, and he is on another level. So yeah, I'm very excited for Ospreay and Danielson. They're gonna tear the fucking house down, man. Like, let me look at this card currently. Like, so the only match officially announced for the show is Ospreay and Danielson, but we're looking at like possibly Okada and Pac and Swerve and Joe and Mercedes, like possibly against Serena Deeb, and then possibly the finals for the vacant AEW Tag Team titles. Oh man, I don't know where we're gonna go here from here, but I'm excited to see Ospreay and Danielson. That's gonna be a fire match. By the way, the reason they set up the reason they've set up Okada with the Elite is because when Kenny Omega comes back, they're gonna do Okada 5, possibly, hopefully in time for, because they probably are going to want to try to shoot for this for All In, because that's probably the biggest match you can put on the show is Okada Omega 5. So we'll see. And Deonna Purrazzo is shown backstage as she says it fits a numbers game that Tony Storm wants. It's what they're going to get. She says she can find a partner for next week in Toronto, and suggests Storm watches for the shoe as it's headed straight up her ass. So we're gonna get a tag match next week on Dynamite. I've already seen who that's gonna be. It's gonna be. Well, I'm not gonna spoil that. What am I talking about here? Why would I spoil that here? I don't know why I would spoil that here. Darby Allin versus Jay White here. This was more about Jay White's dominance here, but this was a good match, though. I'm just going to go towards the end of it here. So Jay White nails a Uranagi, but once again, Darby Allin was able to kick out after a pinfall attempt. Darby then nails, Sting, nails Jay White with a Scorpion Death Drop. Jay White was able to get his foot on the ropes to ensure he doesn't get beaten. With White dangling on the ring apron. Darby Allin attempts a coffin drop, but Bullet Club members, Austin and Colton Gunn, moves. Or not, no, they didn't. I don't know why I said the Gunn Club. Jay White moves just in time, and Darby disgustingly bounces off the ring apron. Darby manages to beat the Tin Cow, but immediately gets dropped with the Blade Runner. Jay White gets the clean win here over Darby Allin. And after the match, Jay White offers a hand to Darby Allin, but as Darby was going for it, Jay White changes it to the gun sign, and the guns start attacking him. They trap his leg within the chair. They bashed it with a baseball bat, but they're getting ready to. But the Acclaimed come out to stop him. However, Jay White says, "Fuck this shit," and I'm going to nail Billy Gunn with a chair shot to the face, and that's exactly what happened. And the Acclaimed get their shit kicked out. The shit kicked out of those two, and Jay White eventually does the baseball spot with the chair and Darby Allin. So but that was to write off Darby Allin, who was getting ready to climb Mount Everest in 2 weeks. So that's what that was for. But the match overall was fine. It was good. Nice to see Jay White get a clean win over somebody. Nice to see a dominating Jay White for once. Because I was not a fan of what they were doing with Jay White. I'm so glad they moved Jay White away from the fucking Acclaimed as a team. And hopefully he can move on to doing something else afterwards. Chris Jericho versus Hook. Oh, not Hook. Chris Jericho and Hook versus the Gates of Agony. I don't care. I don't care about Chris Jericho in 2024. Jericho and Hook win. Both lock in the submission hold. Jericho came out as a Lionheart. Why? I don't know. Nor do I give a shit here. Moving on. Kyle O'Reilly is shown backstage because Kyle O'Reilly returned at Revolution. He says that he admits that that the thought of him not wrestling was the least of his problems. As there was a period when he couldn't pick up his daughter. However, now that he wonders if he can still hang, as it's the most competitive roster in the history of the sport, he's been impressed with Brian Keith, and he says they have about this weekend. So yeah, it was announced that Kyle O'Reilly is going to face Brian Keith on Collision this Saturday. Nice to see. I'm just happy Kyle O'Reilly's back. That's all that matters to me. Roderick Strong turns up and says he always respected Kyle O'Reilly, as a friend, as his brother, and if he wants to do this on his own, then he should, is what Strong says. Jericho then is shown with Hook backstage. Jericho says he needs to know more about Hook, so next week he's challenging him to a match. I don't know if it's for the title? It's not for the title. It's just the match. So there is that. Main event, Willow Nightingale. Why? For some reason, my notes have it listed as Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale, but it's actually Riho versus Willow Nightingale. This match was a lot of fun here. I'm just going to go straight to the finish, though, here. I said Willow Nightingale. So Riho then manages to hit a Northern Light suplex onto Willow, but Willow was able to kick out. She misses the foot stomp. She misses with a foot stomp. That allows Nightingale to give her the pounce. However, as she looks for a cannonball, Riho moved out of the way. Nightingale lands on the floor. Riho then adds further damage by doing the foot stomp off the apron. Back in the ring, she delivers another foot stomp, but Nightingale was able to kick out to keep the match alive. Riho tries to hit her with a few more shots, but Nightingale was able to drop out the clothesline. Takes down the straps, delivers the huge Doctor Bomb for the victory, and Willow Nightingale gets the win over Riho. Fun main event match there. Weird way to end the show, though, but because as not Willow Nightingale celebrating here because she gives her respect to Riho. The lights go out. Julie Hart standing with the title. Sky Blue pops up from behind. They both attack Willow Nightingale. They start jumping on her and all that stuff here. Mercedes makes her way down the ring. As looks like she's dressed to fight. Because, by the way, I want to point out early on in the show, Riho runs into Mercedes and they have a little conversation there. So I forgot to mention that there. But Mercedes drops Sky Blue with a right hand, then hits Hart with a big boot, and nails her with her. I forgot what the heck she calls her move, but I think she goes to the Moneymaker. I don't know, something like that. to the TBS champion. Moné then turns her attention to Willow Nightingale, who lifts up the arm, who Willow then raises the arm of Mercedes to give her a moment, and then that's basically how AEW Dynamite went off the air. So yeah, AEW Dynamite this week I thought was a very, very good episode. This seems like we're in the step of the right direction for the women in AEW. He had Mercedes open the show. Mercedes was shown throughout the show as well, talking not throughout the show, but she had her little run-in with Riho, and then the end of the show were Mercedes and the women main event the show. So I'm gonna keep my optimistic high, not high, but I'm gonna keep it low because I still don't trust Tony Khan. It's not like Tony Khan can sign all the best talent in the world, all the best women's wrestlers in the world. That's not gonna matter unless the booking changes. So it was great this week, but he's got to continue that momentum. And if he can do that, I will give the whole Stardom thing a chance. Until then, I'm going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath because I don't trust this guy at all. But that was the AEW Dynamite. I give the show overall a good solid 8. I give it a good solid 8 out of 10. I would have done without the Jericho Hook match. Didn't need anybody on the show. And I don't think I really cared very much about. Actually, that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. An 8 out of 10 show. But yeah, I'll see you guys back here for Friday Night SmackDown. They're going to be here. That's going to be happening this coming week. SmackDown, I believe The Rock is going to be there. I don't know if Cody Rhodes is going to be there. I do know The Rock is going to be there. They might do something with The Rock concert. We'll see on that end of things here. So, yeah. AEW Dynamite next week in Toronto. We're going to have a TNT Championship. We're going to have 2 championship matches. We've got the TNT Championship I Quit match. It's going to be Christian Cage defending the TNT Championship against the Rated R Superstar Edge. Which maybe Edge is going to win the title. I don't know. They're both from Toronto, so who knows? Eddie Kingston will most likely lose the AEW Continental Classic Championship to Kazuchika Okada to set up the match with Pac at Dynasty. Lionheart Chris Jericho is going to take on the FTW champion Hook, and we're also going to hear from Mercedes Moné next week. This is the double Rampage tape. Obviously, the double Dynamite Rampage tapings. So there is that. They're going to be in Toronto, actually. Not Toronto. Going to be in Canada for the next few shows here. So you got this weekend on Ottawa, Ontario, at the Canadian Tire Center for AEW Collision. Then on March 20th, you got Toronto, Coca-Cola Coliseum for the Rampage Dynamite tapings. Then on March 27th, Quebec City, Quebec, Canada, the Center Videotron for Dynamite and Rampage. Then they'll be in London for Collision on March 30th. London, Ontario, not London, England. Sorry, London, Ontario for Collision on March 30th, and then the week after that is WrestleMania week. Yet, Worcester, Massachusetts, for Dynamite and Collision. They're going to do a double taping there, and you got the Super Card of Honor show, which is going to have Hikaru Shida challenging. Not Shida. Shida's going to be challenging Athena for the AEW Women's Championship on that show. Will the Ring of Honor title be defended on that show? Who the fuck knows? Because most of the Ring of Honor champions barely have been on the show outside of Athena. Anyways. But yeah, I will see you guys back here for SmackDown. And then I will go over the results for the Cinderella tournament, round 2 and semifinals. Not semifinals, quarterfinals on the Sunday's show for Pile Driver Pulse. And maybe if any other news comes out for Mercedes Moné and possibly the Stardom stuff. I also go over my quick reviews of the John Tenta episode and the Buff Bagwell episode of Dark Side of the Ring and all that stuff and much, much more, including my overall thoughts so far of WWE 2K24 and how much I've played of it, whether or not I enjoy it or not. I will let you guys know on Sunday. I've been Matt the Misfit. This has been the Misfit Wrestling Podcast. Until then, we're out.